Today I want to talk about expectations, what we should expect from our government and what we've come to expect, because sadly the two don't always align. Malta has been run by a Labour government since 2013. That's almost 12 years of a Labour government. It's enough time that the government is reaping what it has sown, and it is finally long enough that the government can't blame the nationalist government anymore for its doings. We'd be stupid to act as if the last 12 years have been an across-the-board disaster. There was a building boom, people made serious money, tourism soared, civil rights were improved, but people are no longer talking about laqwa żmien. It's impossible. Because despite the money in some people's pockets, Malta has become bogged down in problems that affect the day-to-day life. The population has soared while infrastructure has not managed to keep up. Towns are looking shabby. Property prices are close to being completely unaffordable. The cost of living has shot up. And almost every month, like clockwork, a new scandal emerges. We are constantly hearing of new magisterial inquiries that are opened due to some newly revealed racket. And the only real government reaction that we see is the government trying to clamp down on these magisterial inquiries. The only real reaction is one of self-preservation. Shut them down. If Malta was a normal country, you would expect that when a scandal breaks out, as inevitably happens in every country, it would immediately trigger a police investigation, an internal investigation. Ministers might resign, but there would be clear repercussions. In Malta, when a scandal emerges, the standard government reaction that we've all come to expect is one of absolute denial. Dawk li mdejqin, nies terroristi, lesti jagħmlu minn kollox biex iwaqqgħu l-gvern. There's not an ounce of accountability, no notes of concern that another of their trusted persons has been caught with their fingers in a pie. And see, what we are seeing is a hard pushback and a show of support for the alleged wrongdoer. They've even gone for the sympathy vote, with accusations that these investigations are attacking family members, and at Christmas, no less. There's no remorse, no sense of embarrassment that the government has been caught with its pants down again, and instead, the party in power runs campaigns of ridicule and harassment against the people who are leading these investigations. It has again begun to attack the free press. Just yesterday, the Prime Minister of this country called the Shift News, an investigative news site, fake news, saying that 90% of its news reports are false. The Prime Minister of the same country, this is the Prime Minister of the same country that 7 years ago looked on as journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia was systematically harassed and then assassinated. Yesterday, journalists were called for questioning by the police for reporting on public interest stories. We're on the precipice of a really slippery slope, and this lack of accountability is worsening. Just this week, as mentioned already, the Prime Minister essentially said that the government would put in procedures to ensure that its civil servants acting in their government capacity should be protected from the repercussions of their action. The government will shoulder responsibility instead, okay? Promise. What does this mean in effect? It's immunity. That the people who are paid from our taxes to do their job don't need to do it properly. There are no personal repercussions for wrongdoing. We'll blame it on the superstructure, the government. But the individual decision maker, the gatekeepers, those can rest easy. This is wrong. If this is a serious country, then we have to believe that our civil servants are not donkeys. They're competent people. They are not there to blindly do their master's biddings. They have brains, they're getting paid for it, and so no, they cannot look the other way if corrupt practices are happening under their nose. The suggestion for immunity for civil servants is so bizarre, so beyond the scope of democracy, that I can only conclude that the civil service has finally put its foot down and is refusing to rubber stamp decisions that are in breach of the law. This is something that we should be applauding, not trying to find a workaround for. This is Labour's problem. It seems that it doesn't know how to operate without bending the rules. And people have become so used to corruption that they actually believe that this is politics. Everyone does this. This is the only way the country works. And it's sick. We've become the sick man of Europe. And instead of accepting treatment by making our system more robust to prevent abuse, we cough in people's faces. And we say, we'll all get sick together, it doesn't matter. But I think we're finally reaching a moment of reckoning. The scrambling efforts of the government to protect itself are blatant, and people aren't laughing anymore. Because frankly speaking, what's so funny about living in this country? One where our judicial system is made a mockery of by a former prime minister of this country, with a freezing order on all his assets, who miraculously continues to jet set around the world. Where at best we get a half-baked apology from the likes of Clayton Bartolo, who says, sorry, I gave my wife a job she wasn't qualified for, worth 70,000 euros, while everyone else is breaking their backs to make a living and pay back enormous loans for tiny flats. Sorry, but I promise I did a real lot of good things as well. Sorry, but it really isn't good enough. This is misuse of public funds, just like Vitals was, 400 million euros down the toilet. People who think that corruption is part and parcel of politics, who say that they have no interest in politics, have to realize that political decisions affect every single aspect of our life. When you're in a hospital waiting for hours to be seen, when a family member of yours is dying in a corridor because literally there isn't any space to put them, or when you've been waiting for an operation for years and it keeps on being cancelled because there are no resources, think about the fraudulent Vitals deal and how 400 million euros of taxpayer money were wasted. That should have gone towards building 3 new hospitals to cope with the increased demand. And yet all we got was literally a toilet. Ask yourself this. Would you get away with stealing from your job? No. Would you get away with taking client money for a job and then instead of using it for its intended purpose, you buy jewelry and luxury goods and squirrel it away in offshore accounts? No. You'd be fired, you'd be made to refund what you've paid, and you'd even be arrested. So why do we accept it when it comes from the government? Why should we pay taxes, for example, and then not have stable electricity in summer? Or a hospital that can cater to increased demand? Why should we always be happy with a, sorry, but it's not just politics and it's not the way things are done. Corruption is not a victimless crime. I'm stating the obvious because I'm here speaking at a visual, calling for justice for the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia. There is an entire published public inquiry stating that the government is responsible for creating a climate that allowed Daphne Caruana Galizia to be assassinated. And instead of taking responsibility, stepping up and doing everything in its power to ensure that this doesn't happen again, the government wants to make opening an inquiry even harder and to protect facilitators of corruption. Yesterday, the Prime Minister said over his dead body would he allow his ministers to be attacked. Of course, the word he was looking here for was investigated for allegations of corruption. But the Prime Minister keeps saying that these inquiries are being abused of. Innocent people are being caught in the crossfires. They need to be kept to stop political persecutions from people with vendettas and extremists. Which extremists, Andy? I mean, let's get real. Apart from the fact that safeguards already exist, as we heard Vicky Ann say, and that it is a crime to make false statements on the roads, how about we have police leadership that takes decisive actions when corruption is revealed, so private citizens don't have to do the dirty work? No one is doing this for fun. Private citizens don't have the resources of the state. They don't have the protection that comes with being an institute. They're intervening at great personal risk because the state is failing in its job. Nothing that's come about in the latest inquiries was a secret. It had been reported for years by journalists and nothing was done about it. It took 8, almost 9 years for something to happen in the latest inquiry related to 17 Black, and rest assured that nothing would have happened had it not been for brave whistleblowers and for the tenacity of Daphne Caruana Galizia and Simon Busuttil, people like David Casa, Jason Azzopardi, Repubblica and others. So no, I don't accept it, and you shouldn't either. Instead of attacking inquiring magistrates, questioning the timings of inquiries' conclusions, attacking experts used, hounding whistleblowers, saying that inquiries cost too much money, or calling private citizens who are literally risking their lives filing these applications under oath terrorists, how about we promise magistrates more resources so that the inquiries can be concluded faster, that people who are investigated are vetted quickly and get exonerated when necessary? How about we ensure that the AG is staffed with experienced and senior prosecutors too, who can help withstand an onslaught from seasoned criminal lawyers? And how about the police are given the support to do their job instead of bizarrely being suspended for swapping faulty boots? How about a culture of accountability is instilled within the government so that people in positions of power don't compromise the civil service in the first place and force them to rubber stamp things that are blatantly wrong? Because that's the real problem. It's not people like Robert Aquilina or Jason Azzopardi, Repubblica, Occupy Justice, or any of the other NGOs or people fighting corruption here. They are not the problem. It's people who think that being in government or government adjacent is a business opportunity and the path to getting rich quickly. Of course, the civil service is pushing back and refusing to blindly follow instructions when it's their necks that are on the line. So no, the government can keep its promises of shouldering responsibility, because frankly, that's just paying lip service to accountability. This country is still a democratic country, and that means that the rule of law applies to everyone, who should remain responsible for their own behavior and, yes, held accountable in the court of law if they break the law. It's incredible. We've come to expect so little, but if those amendments go through, we can expect things to get worse. The Prime Minister's step to clamp down on these inquiries shows us that they're effective. That slowly, despite every attempt to disrupt them, the truth is emerging and it's not pretty. And there is nothing that darkness likes less than a bright light being shone at it. Change is coming. Expect it, be a part of it, and when the time is right, support it. Stop waiting for a mythical beast to land in this country and be our savior. Leaders are just normal people fighting fights that nobody wants to touch with a barge pole. We need to roll up our sleeves and be a part of this. Thank you.